The Supreme Court has struck down DOMA over the loud and squealing objections of Mr. Scalia. We will get to that in a little bit. And, well, in fact, actually, let's get to that right now. Yetta Curlin is on the line with us. Yetta is an LGBT civil rights attorney and formerly an air personality on WWRL. Yetta, welcome to the program.
Do you need to turn up sound?
Yetta? Hello?
Hello? How are you?
Fine. If you pick up your phone, I think that we'll have better audio.
Is the audio better?
Yeah, your Skype audio is not working well. Do you have a phone you can pick up? Because I just put your phone...
I'm right here.
Great. Okay, now I can hear you. Okay, so Yetta, your thoughts on what happened in the Supreme Court today?
Oh, I think humanity won today. It was an incredible decision, and I think everybody in New York, there's just a feeling we're maybe 3 or 4 blocks away from the historic Stonewall Inn, where people have been gathering all day. I hear, get little tweets or Facebook messages that people are just kind of wandering down there. There's going to be a big rally at 5:30 p.m. I think the city is ecstatic. I think the country is really happy. And I think the decision was a great decision. There were some dissents, but for the most part, I think the Supreme Court was saying enough is enough. We have to stop bullying gay people. We have to let them have the same rights as everybody else.
Right. Now, this decision, though, does not direct all states to recognize gay marriages.
That's right. It allows states like New York that recognizes same-sex marriage to be able to have the same federal recognition on a federal level. It does not impose a requirement on states like, say, Mississippi that don't allow for same-sex marriage to happen. There's no full faith and credit, but we are getting recognition on a federal level, which I think is a huge win. And I think what we saw in this decision is that state-by-state decisions like New York State deciding to allow marriage equality made a positive impact, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see that all states, regardless of whether there's local legislation that allows for it, recognizes same-sex marriage.
Well, I would agree to the extent that I think it's just a matter of time before all the blue states do. I have my doubts about Mississippi. Do you think it's possible that we're seeing, given that the Supreme Court chose not to establish any kind of federal standard, or although you could argue that in their ruling they essentially said that prohibiting gay marriage or not recognizing gay marriage is a form of bias and discrimination and is harmful to people, that argument, and this was Scalia's objection to it, that argument could be used at the state level to essentially either shame a state or the state's legislators, or arguably legally push them, perhaps even at the state Supreme Court level, into recognizing gay marriage?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think Scalia and Alito both had some very interesting comments. They, in my humble opinion, kind of went off the deep end in a couple of places. At one point saying that it was it's going to be humiliating to children, this decision. It just shows how out of touch these guys are with what it means to be the child of a same-sex family. This is going to actually restore dignity to those children. And I think what today showed, Tom, is that really anything is possible. When I was, I'm 45 today. When I was 20 years old, 25 years old, we never thought we would see this day. The LGBTQ community never thought we would see this day. And so I do think it's only a matter of time that regardless of what state you're in, the sanctity and the dignity of a relationship is going to be respected. And I think because of the Full Faith and Credit Act, we're going to be able to see that. Now, also, again, if I'm, somebody who wants to get married, I can go into one of the 12 or 13 states where marriage equality is recognized. I can get a marriage, and I can appreciate and enjoy the over 1,000 rights and privileges that are bestowed upon people on a federal level. So that's a huge win, and I really think it's a tremendous victory today.
Now, Scalia, in his bench dissent, also raised another issue that I'm curious about. You're an attorney and you work in this field. He said if a person is married in a state that recognizes a gay marriage, that recognizes marriage equality, and they move to a state that doesn't, which state's rules will be acknowledged by the IRS, for example?
Again, I think that we saw a lot of knee-jerk reactions from the dissent those are the things that are going to be resolved. And this is why I think some of those secondary or tertiary issues are going to wind up back in the Supreme Court. And I believe that the Supreme Court will again restore dignity to all Americans. This is a great day for Americans. It's about dignity. It's about humanity. As I said earlier, today humanity wins. And I think one of the major points that the decision underscores is that this is about using the laws not to bully or antagonize or take away rights from a certain minority. It's about the Fifth Amendment, right? It's about full recognition and equality under the law. And I think those issues around what state laws are going to be applied will be figured out. And whether that happens in an easy, straightforward way on the ground on a state-by-state basis, or whether it works its way back up to the Supreme Court, we're anxious to see that. And again, today has shown that anything can happen, that this is a great country, and that equality can win the day. And I'm cautiously optimistic that when those issues come up before the courts, they'll be resolved also with equality in mind.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm absolutely with you, and also very, very pleased that this happened the way it did. The thought that occurred to me as I was reading the decision, and in particular the dissent, was that we had state-by-state outlawing of, or removal rather, of miscegenation laws back in the 50s and 60s, but it hadn't happened in every state in the Union. And then finally that became in front of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court simply said you can't have miscegenation laws, anti-multiracial marriage laws,
right.
and or biracial, or whatever the appropriate word is. And it struck me that this may end up playing out that same way. And in fact, essentially what Scalia was saying in his squealing objection from the bench was that, the subtext in my mind to it was that by specifically pointing out the harms that are done to LGBT couples who are not able to get federal recognition of their marriages, even though their state recognizes them, by identifying those harms, what the court has done is it has laid down a marker that if 5, 10, 15 years down the road, if it follows the same path the miscegenation laws did, all the state, Mississippi hasn't gotten with the program yet, that this might end up back before the court, and we might see the court simply saying, okay, that's it. Do you think that there's anything to that, or am I over reading too much into this and overgeneralizing?
No, I mean, I think that that's perhaps what they were saying. I think that that's probably their hope. I think we won a huge right today, and I think it will go down in history today. June 26, 2013, was the day that gay Americans got to have the dignity, respect, and the rights of their heterosexual counterparts, and to be able to have a full recognition of marriage. And I think it's only going to get better. I think there's only going to be more equality as we work out some of those issues state to state that you talked about.
Yeah.
I want to say one other thing. There's a sense of pride everywhere throughout New York City. I imagine throughout the country, people are talking about this. Facebook is blowing up. Twitter is blowing up. Everyone's talking about it. And there's an overwhelming happiness. And it's not just the LGBT community. You know what I'm so proud of is the straight allies that made this happen. Because if they hadn't been there with us, marching, letter writing, petitioning, in litigation, in all of in legislative efforts, we hadn't had our straight allies, we wouldn't be here today. And that is what civil rights is all about. It's the idea of being our brother's keepers, our sister's keepers. And that's what's so great about this country. And that is what is so great about this decision. Very
well said. Yetta Kurland, ESQ, LGBT rights, a civil rights attorney, and formerly a WWRL air personality. KurlandAssociates.com is her website. Yetta, thanks for being with us today.
Tom, thank you.
And congratulations.
Congratulations as well.
Thank you. 15 minutes past the hour.